Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired chef from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to another bread making video. In this one I'll be making this wonderful what I call a rustic farmhouse loaf. And it's a simple no-knead recipe. It's quite a sticky wet dough, but if you follow my directions it's very easy to handle. At work, I only made these on a Saturday morning and I really couldn't keep up with the demand. It really is a beautiful and simple bread to make. From start to finish, including the baking time, this only took me 2 hours and 20 minutes to complete. And here's a list of the ingredients you'll need if you want to have a go at making it yourself. First job is to make up the yeast mixture. This is also a good way to test that the yeast is working. I would normally do this test with a teaspoon of sugar, but for a change this time I'm testing it with a couple of spoons of flour, but flour taken from the main ingredients. That way it doesn't alter the balance of the recipe. Right, I'll put that warm yeast mixture aside for 10 minutes to proof. Right, it's 10 minutes later and the yeast is looking good. I'll get the flour into a warm bowl and mix in the salt using a whisk. And as you can see, the yeast is looking frothy and healthy, so I'll get it into the bowl followed by the oil and give that a good mix using my trusty wooden spoon handle. You can use a stand mixer with a dough hook attached for this part, but only until the mixture comes together. Remember, this is a no-knead recipe, which I firmly believe improves the texture and flavour of the bread. Besides, mixing the dough like this only took me a minute, so it's hardly worth getting your machine out for that. Okay, once it comes together as shown, cover the bowl. I use a shower cap for this, and I'll be setting my timer for 45 minutes. Yours may take a little longer depending on the temperature of your kitchen. To give you an idea, today my kitchen is 23 degrees Celsius, that's 73 Fahrenheit. Once the time's up, slightly wet the work surface and scrape out the dough. And with wet hands, give the dough a few turns. Your hands must be wet to do this. If you try to do this with dry hands, I guarantee you'll have webbed fingers within seconds. This is only to knock back or degas the dough and to even out the temperature. Now get it back into the bowl. This time I'm only going to set the timer for 30 minutes. Once again, you may have to adjust the time to suit the temperature of your kitchen. But whatever time you set on the first rise, make this one 2/3 of that time. For example, if your first rise took an hour, set this time for 40 minutes. To transfer the dough onto the baking tray inside the hot oven, I'll need to use something with a handle like this wok. The wok size is on screen. And to make sure the dough releases easily from the wok, it needs to be well greased. And to grease mine, I'm using a good knob of butter, and for belt and braces, half a teaspoon of vegetable oil too. Now I'll be using these mixed seeds on my loaf, and this is the easiest way to get them to stick to the bread. I'll leave a list of the seeds I'm using in the description box below. Now this is quite a large loaf, about 25 centimetres, that's 10 inches in diameter, so I'll be using this 30 centimetre or 12-inch baking tray, and that also needs to be greased. I'm just using the same vegetable oil. Okay, time's up on the second rise. So now I'll turn it out onto the slightly wet surface exactly the same way as the first time and give it a few turns with wet hands. Then instead of it going back into the bowl, it goes into the wok. Dab a little more water on the top of the dough. This will help the seeds stick better. If you're not using seeds, don't dab on the extra water. Now gently prod the dough down with your fingers as shown. After a little clean up, I'll rest the pan on a towel. This insulates the pan from the cooler bench top. And before covering it with another lightweight dry towel, I'll sprinkle a teaspoon of flour over it to prevent the towel from sticking to the wet dough as it rises. Right, I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes, but I'll keep an eye on it in case it over rises and falls over the sides of the wok. When there's only about 15 minutes left on the final rise, I preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius, that's 392 Fahrenheit or gas mark 6. I'm setting mine to 180 Celsius because my oven's fan assisted and it runs about 20 degrees hotter than indicated on the dial. To make the loaf as crispy as possible, I'm placing a pan of hot water on the bottom shelf of the oven. I'll also be putting in the prepared baking tray. Do this when you turn on the oven so it all gets hot at the same time. You'll also need a spray bottle of water at the ready. Right, looking at my dough, it's risen enough now and there's still 7.5 minutes left on the timer. If I leave it any longer, it'll be in danger of falling over the sides of the wok, so it'll have to go into the oven now. Okay, with my oven glove on, I'll get it onto the tray in the oven. If you're using a vessel without a handle like a banneton or something, don't try to do it this way. Lift the baking tray out of the oven and onto the top of the stove first, then tip out the dough. It's not ideal, but it'll still be okay. And not to mention much safer. Whichever way you do it, once it's safely in the oven, give the oven a quick spray with water and get the door shut as quickly as possible and set the timer for 30 minutes. When it's around halfway, I like to turn the bread around for even cooking. And before closing the door, I'll give it another quick spray with water. The steam created in the oven by the pan of water and the spray really makes the crust of this bread light and crispy. Once the time's up, I'll get this fantastic farmhouse loaf onto a wire rack and let it cool for a while. And after doing a little calculation, the time I've spent on this loaf from start to finish was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and 2 hours of that was waiting time. Marvellous. Okay, it's been 20 minutes since it came out of the oven and it's still a little warm, but I can't wait any longer. Well, the crust sure sounds crispy and the texture of the bread has a nice close crumb and is soft and light. I'll try some of my homemade butter on. If you want to know how I make this butter, it's really easy. I'll leave a link in the description box below to the video. Now I'll be making a couple of these for our New Year's Eve party buffet, and I'll guarantee a big serving tray of open sandwiches made with this bread will be first to go. And once again, it's absolutely delicious and gets the usual thumbs up. And as that will be my final recipe for 2018, I'd like to wish all of you a happy, peaceful and prosperous new year for 2019. Happy New Year, everyone. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in the kitchen and bye for now.